The Blood of the Dawnwalker is being labeled as an open-world, single-player, narrative sandbox. Ooh, dark fantasy action RPG, and it's clearly leaning into its gritty medieval vampire roots, so don't expect any shirtless glitter boys.
Last night was the best night of my existence.
As this one looks like it's trading prom drama for blood rituals and existential dread. In this video, I'll be going over most things that we know about this game. I'll be saving some of the deeper lore for its own video, so stay tuned. If you're here just for information on the recent gameplay reveal, chapter markers below, as always. Let's start off with the team behind the Blood of the Dawnwalker, Rebel Wolves, a brand new AAA studio founded by former CD Projekt Red devs, most notably Konrad Tomaszkiewicz, who directed The Witcher 3 and served as co-director on Cyberpunk 2077. It's the classic story of veteran devs from a major studio breaking off to chase their own vision. In an interview with PC Gamer, Konrad mentioned that his idea for Dawnwalker would have been too risky for a studio like CDPR, and that he wanted to work with a smaller team and explore some of his, quote, crazy ideas in this brand new IP. Konrad also said this at the game reveal event.
I decided to open the Rebels company because I felt that there is a huge space for innovation and for evolution in the open world RPGs. And to achieve that, you need to have independence and artistic freedom. And sometimes you need to make hard and risky decisions. And the best way to do that is to open your own company and to make your own choices.
And no, there doesn't seem to be any bad blood at this time between Rebel Wolves and CDPR, pun fully intended. Personally, I'm excited for the future of both studios, but there's something especially exciting about seeing top-tier talent gaining freedom to do things their own way. Good news for pretty much everyone watching. Dawnwalker is confirmed for PC on Steam as well as Xbox Series and PS5, and it's being built in Unreal Engine 5, which can be a good or bad thing depending on how you feel about UE5. We don't have an exact release date yet, but it's still currently slated for 2026. So let's talk about the story and setting before diving into the gameplay, as it will make a lot more sense this way. Blood of the Dawnwalker takes place in an alternate version of 14th century Europe, specifically the year 1347 AD, in a fictional kingdom called Val Sangora, which is tucked deep in the Carpathian Mountains somewhere in Eastern Europe. We have been told that real-world history will play a key role in the narrative, but of course, at large, there's a lot of fictional elements in this game. In Val Sangora, it's a brutal time for the folks of this land as the Black Death is tearing through the population, and a bloody conflict is ravaging the land. Needless to say, things really are not going that well, and you could even say that it's a bit of a time of weakness, and weakness tends to attract those looking to exploit it. Vampires.
Like my own personal brand of heroin.
Not that kind. In the cinematic reveal, we witness a brutal feudal lord ready to execute a young girl named Lunka, who is suffering from the Black Death. The man desperately trying to stop this from playing out is Cohen, Lunka's brother, and the character that you'll be playing as.
What about Darkspawn?
Yeah, someone who will stand between us and a pack of demons.
Okay, I'm done. Sorry. Just as things are about to turn grim, a group of vampires sweeps in like a storm, ruthlessly wiping out the Lord and his militia guard. The vampires do not kill Cohen and Lunka. Instead, Brensis, the leader of this vampire crew, force feeds his blood to Lunka, which we can only assume will cure her from the plague or give her some sort of temporary relief. Now, despite in some ways rescuing Cohen and Lunka, Brensis is the game's primary antagonist. The cinematic ends with Brensis telling Cohen that he's been watching his people, and that things will be different now, which is basically vampire speak for, I'm in charge, I'll bring order to the chaos, and oh, also by the way, I'll be feeding on you all like cattle. I'd say it's a pretty compelling start to the story because somebody does need to bring order to the chaos in Val Sangora. The kingdom's being torn apart by plague, famine, and power-hungry feudal lords who are only making things worse. So when vampires show up offering security, even if it's a false sense of security, and a cure or defense from the plague, It's not hard to imagine some of the population actually supporting them. This is where I'd say things have potential to get quite interesting here with just your regular old NPCs, as the divide among the people will likely add a layer of tension to the story, as some may welcome the vampires as saviors of some sorts, while others will see them for what they really are. Ultimately, though, the people of Val Sangora have become little more than servants, or cattle, if you will, forced to pay a blood tax in exchange for their so-called protection. Cohen quickly figures out what's really going on, and he doesn't like it, and at some point the vampires actually attempt to turn him. In the Dawnwalker lore, to turn a human, a vampire must pull out one of their teeth and pierce the heart of their chosen target. We actually got to see a clip of this occurring to Cohen in one of the promo videos. There is, however, a bit of a twist here with Cohen in particular. Cohen has silver poisoning from years spent working in the mines, and that silver presence in his blood actually prevents him from fully turning. Instead, he becomes something in between, a Dawnwalker. Not quite vampire, not quite human. Or both. By day, Cohen can walk in sunlight, he'll wield a sword, and he has access to some dark magic that is tied to blood, heat, and air. By night, the vampire side takes over, granting him access to some powerful supernatural dark powers that can only be accessed after sunset. He can fight with claws, and he has enhanced strength and supernatural agility. Cohen's thirst for blood, however, grows and grows stronger over time, and this will play into the game's blood craving system, where if not managed well, you can actually lose control of your vampire nature involuntarily and drain NPCs, which can actually lock you out from some dialogue or even certain quest lines. We are told that players will have the agency to embrace their vampire side and give in to its temptations, while others may cling to their humanity and reject the monster within. Cohen believes he's the only one who can save his family, and that's exactly what you, the player, will be fighting to do, but how you do it is ultimately up to you. Once the prologue ends, the world supposedly opens right up, and that's not just in terms of world and land traversal, but also narrative. The devs state that they are putting a major emphasis on player freedom when it comes to how the story unfolds, even going so far as to call it a narrative sandbox. In an article on Xbox.com, Rebel Wolves' creative director wrote this: "We wanted to give players as much control over the narrative as possible, a clear objective, but many paths to achieve it. This could mean forming unlikely alliances or missing entire factions altogether. You can align with the human rebellion or finish the game without ever meeting them." Later in the article, it even says that we can take the fight to Brensis at any time, choosing from multiple paths to do so. Also important to note that openly opposing the vampires will have consequences, and it will change up the gameplay a bit as you're much more out in the open opposing the ruling force, but you, the player, have the choice to play like that. So you can also, of course, choose to play more of a subterfuge type approach and be a little bit more hidden with your goals in the way that you portray yourself. Personally, I love that they're going down this route, and I think this design philosophy, if executed well, is exactly what the vast majority of RPG lovers live for in their games. Rebel Wolves is certainly talking a big game, though, with this narrative sandbox terminology, and I'm all for it. Let's hope they can pull it off. Okay, now let's focus in more on actual gameplay. So first up, as you can tell, this is a third-person RPG, and when solely going off of the fairly recent gameplay presentation, the camera is damn close to the character. And although this is subjective, common feedback does seem to be that it's a bit too close for an RPG. And with that said, perhaps in this case it is close for presentation purposes to give a bit more of a dramatic feel to the presentation, but we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully they look at player feedback. As mentioned earlier, the game is going to be open world, and according to the devs, what you're looking at right now in the gameplay, you can head anywhere that the eye can see. There will be a variety of different biomes such as mountains, meadows, peat bogs, swamps, forests, caves, as well as a variety of NPCs and points of interest, which includes shrines, ruins, bandit camps, monster nests, little Witcher inspiration there, treasures, and much more. In the gameplay presentation, we got to see mostly the city of Svartrau, which is the capital city of Val Sangora. And this is home to the Svartrau Cathedral, as well as the castle that Brensis resides in, which is called Griveberg, I believe. It was revealed that in order to complete the main quest and save your family, you'll have to storm Griveberg either alone or with the help of friendly NPCs, if you have friends. And interestingly enough, it appears as if you can attempt this task at any time, but storming it too early or underpowered will prove to be a very, very hard challenge. This once again plays into Rebel Wolves' narrative sandbox theme going on here, where you can do or attempt things in an order of your choosing. We got to see a map of Svartrau, which is divided into a few different districts. The yellow circle here represents this player's current quest objective area, which is to go to the cathedral. And then you'll also notice several different small icons on the map representing locations where you can find inns, armorers, blacksmiths, medics, and other types of merchants. As you walk through places such as Svartrau, you will run into what the devs are calling community scenes, where NPCs are going to be doing something a bit out of the ordinary, such as these guards right here banging on this person's door, stating that they've been heard disrespecting the Niaz, singing songs that mocked him and the faith. If you pay attention to and show some interest in community scenes, we are told that they may point us to some new quests, hidden treasures, and they can even signal changes in the game's world. All right, let's talk a bit about combat now. So in the daytime, Cohen is more of his human side and can walk in daylight with no problem, wield a sword, and also access some dark magic. When attacking with a sword, the player will be choosing one of 4 directions to swing your sword. So directional based combat, in some ways similar to Kingdom Come Deliverance, with the goal of choosing a directional swing, up, down, left, or right, that gives you the best chance of landing an attack. So you want to attack in the area where your opponent is not defending or guarding. When an opponent attacks you in melee, the same concept applies here, where you will want to block or parry in the direction that the opponent is swinging at you. Now, the icon that you see in the chest area of your opponent will give you visual cues as to when you should attack or defend, as well as which direction may benefit you the most. So it's not purely based on watching animations, although I'm assuming they might have a setting for that, not sure. Each sword swing does use up some of your stamina, so stamina management is important to some degree in this game, and you can keep track of your stamina by keeping an eye on the yellow bar on the bottom left of the screen, the red bar being health, of course, and the white bar is the XP bar. Stamina does appear to regenerate a bit when you pull off a successful parry or block. It depletes when you do a dodge, and if you let the stamina bar deplete completely, Cohen will enter a slower, more staggered state where you're much more vulnerable to attacks. Opponents will also have what I assume are stamina bars, which is shown beneath their HP bar, which also depletes as they attack and when you land certain attacks, I believe. And when fully depleted, you'll have a good opening to unleash your own attacks without them being able to defend them. There's also an activation charge system, which is represented by these 2 icons that are above the XP bar right here. I'm not sure if there's going to be more than 2, but we see 2 in the current gameplay. And after each successful attack, block, and parry, your activation charges build up. And once full, you can use these charges to activate your abilities, which includes dark magic abilities. Right here, we got to watch Cohen pull up the ability wheel, which pauses combat, and use Acrid Dust, which costs 1 activation charge, and this ability throws powder into an opponent's eyes, stunning them for a short period of time, but the stun will go away if you hit the opponent. Later on in that same fight, we watch the player use a level 1 hex called Burning Blood, which costs 1 activation charge, but also costs some of Cohen's HP. And what it does is it burns an enemy's skin and boils their blood, which is a damage over time ability. And we can't forget Artery Attack, which strikes the enemy's neck, which can result in a beheading, as you can see right here. Now at nighttime, Cohen enters more of a vampiric state, which gives him access to claws, enhanced strength and supernatural agility, and some more powerful supernatural dark powers exclusive to the vampiric form. Traveling at night, you can see that Cohen can walk up walls like a spider. I think this is called like plane shift or something like that. He can use shadow step, which acts as a super jump or teleport in a way, if you will. And these vampiric traversal abilities will allow Cohen to get to places that he may not be able to reach in the daytime. So for some quests in this game, you may prefer to attempt to tackle them at night over the daytime. Although keep in mind that daytime will also have its own benefits too. In combat, the claw attack appears to be the default here, although the devs did say that you can still wield the sword at nighttime as well if you so choose. The claws will still engage with the directional combat system, but they appear to be a bit quicker than a sword, and you of course have claws on both hands. Cohen's dodge is enhanced in his vampiric form, but still consumes stamina. As you can see, the activation charge system is still in use here as well, but the devs didn't show us any of the special vampiric abilities that I'm assuming will consume those activation charges. Cohen does end up fighting one of the vampire lords, and this is Xanthi, but ultimately this fight isn't victorious for Cohen, as Xanthi has a boiling blood skill, which is represented by this timer beneath her HP and stamina bar, and if she's not defeated before the bar drains, I think this is how it goes, Cohen basically explodes and it's game over. I'm assuming if you attempt to take on Xanthi unprepared or just too early on in the game, this boiling blood skill is going to be one of her mechanics that will likely make you feel like perhaps you should come back at a later time. Okay, now let's talk about focus mode and the blood craving system, as well as the day and night cycle, one of the most important topics for this game, and I'll end the video going over character progression. Starting with focus mode. So I believe that focus mode is a nighttime mechanic. It could possibly be used in the daytime, but from the way that the devs spoke about it, it seems like a nighttime vampire mechanic, but I could be wrong. But entering into focus mode is very similar to Geralt's Witcher Sense mode in The Witcher 3. In focus mode, objects of interest and loot will be highlighted, and in this case, the blood on the ground becomes a bit brighter, and the blood trail leads Cohen to a dead body, which of course has some loot. We are told that focus mode may also reveal some objects that lead to hidden quests in the game. The hunger feeding mechanic, or the blood craving system, is an interesting one here, as it adds a lot of player agency to how you choose to play out your Cohen. As a vampire, your health is tied to your hunger level, and the lower that your health is, the hungrier your Cohen will be, which can cause some unpredictable consequences, such as uncontrollably completely draining some important NPCs of their blood, which leads to their death. In the daytime, you can simply eat food to restore HP, but at nighttime, food I don't believe will replenish your health when you're a vampire. You need blood. Also, in order to make full use of Cohen's vampire abilities, you must quench your appetite. The more you give in to your vampire form, which includes using its special supernatural dark powers, it is said to affect other areas of the game as well, such as your human form. So perhaps you start to look a little bit more vampire, I'm just guessing, and then in your human form, you're not as easily able to navigate the world without people suspecting something. Just a guess though. You can of course feed on humans to satisfy your hunger by using your voracious bite ability, and if you're not too hungry, you should be able to control the amount that you feed. As you can see right here, while feeding, there is a bar that pops up that represents how much blood you are draining in your victim. If you get past the first third of the bar, your victim will be knocked unconscious. But if you drain 2/3 or more, your victim will die. And like they mentioned, some of these NPCs could be important, and there will be consequences for that NPC dying. You might even miss out on something, but missing out on that something may actually lead to other types of content that the player who didn't kill the NPC may miss out on. For those of you who don't want to feed on innocent humans, you can in fact feed on some animals in the game as well as some other creatures. It's really up to you how you want to play your Cohen, and some of you of course may choose to be as morally good as possible, only feeding on animals, while others may choose to be a bit more vicious and less empathetic to your victims. But whatever you choose, it is said that the game will have ways to react to that decision. And this brings us into the day and night cycle, a very, very important gameplay system in Dawnwalker. To complete the game's main objective of saving your family, you'll have only 30 days and 30 nights to do so. When looking at the gameplay on the top right of the screen, you can see what day that you're currently on, and this player is on day 22, so they only have 8 more days and nights left. In-game time, however, in Dawnwalker does not continuously progress. So even though there is a time constraint of sorts, you could say, the progression of days is said to be more of a resource that you'll be spending rather than being a racing clock that you're trying to beat. Exploration, for example, will not push time forward, so you can run around all day and night just exploring and going in places and looking for loot, etc., without the 30 days ticking away on you. Anything that actually progresses real time in the game is said to be done through a deliberate choice from the player. There will be a warning, an obvious warning that something will progress time, so you should never be losing time by accident. As I discussed a bit earlier, progression from day to night will change Cohen from more of a human form to his vampire form, but it also, of course, changes what is going on in the world itself. For example, in the daytime, Cohen can just walk right into the open cathedral and chat with NPCs, no problem. While at nighttime, the cathedral doors would be locked. But at the same time, nighttime vampire Cohen has special traversal abilities that may allow him to still get into places that are closed off, although he may want to be a bit more stealthy, as he probably looks much more vampire-ish and will scare a lot of people. The choice is up to you how you want to handle objectives, as of course they're calling it a narrative sandbox. Now there's still a lot of questions to be answered in regards to this time mechanic, and time constraints are always a divisive topic in gaming in general, but I'm personally going to stay open-minded and give the devs a chance here to show us why they feel this system is good for their game. Okay, let's talk a bit about character progression now, but since we're on this screen right here, take note that the game's menu includes a tab for character, inventory, crafting, journal, map, Brensis's court, and glossary. Don't know what some of these mean, especially Brensis's court, but there's a lot to think about here. We did get a view of the inventory tab where you can see items such as food, which will heal daytime Cohen, as his health will not regenerate on its own in the daytime, so consumables are needed. We got to see a silver brooch, which may or may not be for crafting. Looks like it's worth a decent amount though, and you'll also notice that each item has its own weight. And we got to see a weapon called the Chopper, which has an item quality of 1, a damage range, and some sort of affix, which gives an increase to parry window. We don't have much info on crafting just yet, but it looks like we will be able to increase item quality, or at the very least find items of better quality, which would tie into character progression. And there may be some way to add affixes to your gear. On the right side of the screen, you can see slots for coat, gauntlets, pants, boots, rings, amulet, and weapon. Always good to see RPGs have separate categories for the coat or the chest area and the pants and the boots. You see a lot of them streamlining this these days and just making it all one. Now the character tab is where you'll be spending your skill points in the skill trees as you level up. We have a skill tree for human, a tree for Vrakiri, which is our vampire skills, and there's a shared perks skill tree. You'll also notice an active abilities category, which the devs say that we'll be using to unlock additional abilities in combat. As you level up in Dawnwalker, it appears as if you get 1 skill point to spend in a skill tree of your choosing, and to unlock different tiers of skills, you must spend a certain amount of skill points in the previous tier. We got to see a couple skills that you can invest into. The Arcane Binding skill is found in the human tree, and it makes your hexes last longer, deal more damage. And if you invest enough into this skill, it will also increase its crit chance. And we got to see the Frugal Witchcraft perk, which makes casting Hex cost less of your health. In the combat demonstration earlier, we saw that one ability that did use up some of Cohen's health, and its tier 3 version appears to make it so that killing an enemy affected by a Hex will also restore 50% of your health spent, but it looks like you need to spend 25 points in the tree to unlock this. So for character progression, we have progression through gear, as well as crafting to some degree, and also character progression through the XP level up system, which rewards you with skill points to spend in the trees. I almost forgot to talk about dialogue, although we don't really have too much information on this. If it's a narrative sandbox, though, you would expect a lot of important decisions to be made through dialogue. Some dialogue options you will be timed. As you can see right here, this yellow bar is draining away as the player character has to choose their dialogue response. And in this particular dialogue, there are two choices. We're going to have to wait to see a lot more on the dialogue to have a deeper discussion. And that's going to be it for this particular video. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll be sure to keep an eye out on everything that Rebel Wolves puts out, and if there's anything really cool, I'll make a video on it. I'm going to be doing a lore video for sure at some point. If you guys don't mind, put your feedback down below on how you're feeling about this game and what you saw in the pre-beta gameplay presentation. I'm thinking about making a feedback video because Rebel Wolves, I believe, still has time to mess with things such as that camera distance. All right, feel free to join the Discord server. The link is down below. I have a Dawnwalker chat over there, as well as pretty much every other RPG that you can think of. I'll see some of you guys over there. Thanks. Bye.